Hi everyone and welcome to KRYPTALK, that Irish guy that talks about Bitcoin. Before we get started, I just want to say a massive shout out to Mark Baker and Luke Curry of the SharkPod podcast. They had me on episode number 77 of their podcast during the week. It's all about business, entrepreneurs, design and lifestyle and tech. It's really interesting. I'll drop all the relevant links down in the description. So if you haven't checked them out, please do so. You won't be disappointed. They are excellent, and maybe check out that episode as well. So today's episode is all about putting the finger on Bitcoin's pulse just to see where it's at, checking out the latest news and asking the important question. Exactly what is it that Elon Musk is smoking? Let's get started. This is episode number 43, and the title of this episode is Elon Musk versus Bitcoin. But before we do any of that, just going to give you a chance to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let's take a look at the charts. Okay, let's get the basics out of the way. This is the Kraken chart. These are 4 hourly candles and Bitcoin is trading at $36,724. We did actually get to $39,000 yesterday, but then of course around here, Elon sent his tweet and a lot of people sold off. It's a sign that there's a lot of weak hands in the market. There's also a sign that a lot of people don't understand what they've invested in, and it's ridiculous the way this man has so much influence. It kind of looks like a bit of manipulation to me. I'll explain that later on in the episode. So just look at what we have. This yellow preparated line, this is one of the previous all-time high of $42,000. Why that's significant is because not only was it a previous all-time high, but because once we broke above it, Bitcoin traded above it, as far back basically since February. It broke above it, $42,000. That was the all-time high at the time. It stayed above $42,138 until here, which was the big correction on the 19th of May. And it's been a kind of correcting ever since. So what it's actually doing, it tried to break above the EMA ribbon. This is the 4-hour EMA ribbon, and it was rejected not only from the $42,000 level, but from the EMA ribbon itself. Fell below it, tried again, rejected again, fell below it, rejected again, managed to get up. Then of course Elon sent his tweet. It's not a coincidence. So what we have here is we have a high point, a lower high, a lower high. We've got a low point here, a higher low, a higher low. So this is a pennant. Basically, we're getting a kind of a textbook kind of it looks like a bearish pennant. Unfortunately, they are continuation patterns, and unfortunately, this should typically break to the downside. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't actually know, but let's just take a look at if that were to happen, what would it look like? So just a quick price calculation here. Let's say we were to break to the downside today. So what we're looking at there is it would go down as far as here, which is just above the 0.236 fib level, and fibs don't lie. So that'd be about $18,000. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. Because as we're in a bull market and we have hit an all-time high of 64,900, let's just say I don't think the bull market is over, but let's just say it is over. Let's just say it is. We haven't had a situation where Bitcoin goes into a bull market, hits an all-time high, goes into a bear market, and then at the lowest point in the bear market closes under the previous high from the previous bull market. Just to put that in simple terms, the last bull market we topped out at 20,000. Because that was the high in the last bull market. Even if we go into bear market now, we've never had that situation where we would close underneath the previous all-time high from the previous bull market. So I don't think that's going to happen. A second thing worth mentioning is this purple box here. Since this correction down from the all-time high, this 53% correction at its lowest, most of the trading has been done in here in this area back as far as the 19th of May. So what I mean by that is, like, say all of the trading has been kind of like concentrated between the previous all-time high of 42,182 and down as far as 34,000. So it's above 32,000. Why that's important, I mentioned in a short video I released during the week, is because the average price that Tesla bought in at was $32,000. When they did shell out and commit to buy $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, the average price that they got was $32,000. So there should still be strong support above 32. Maybe this is the floor. Now, if Tesla were to strategically sell off, it's going to dump down lower, but I still don't think it's going to go below 20,000. So I think they're the levels, 20,000 and 32,000. 32,000 should be strong support. If not, I don't think we're going to go below 20,000. Now I'm just going to finish off this episode with taking a look at some fib levels. Now it's a macro fib level, so this is the weekly chart. So it's the Kraken weekly chart. All these candles represent 1 week of trading. So back as far as March 2020, when everything dumped, you had that kind of global crash. That's when I started this fib, and then so this is your 0 level and this is your 1 level. So just taking a look at this, of course, all those perforated lines represent the all-time high hit on the way up. So what have we actually done? We've dumped down from 64,900 down as far as just above the 0.382 level, and we seem to have accumulated around the 0.5 level. So this green line is the 0.5 level, and it's 34,296. So realistically, the next level to go down to would be the 0.38 if it was to collapse. So that's a level of support, hopefully. And then the next one then is the one I've already mentioned, down as far as 18,000. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying previous data and trends suggest that it would be unlikely to happen. But if that happens, I think that's your floor there, 18,000. Okay, there should be strong support at 32, but we've seen what happens when Elon tweets. And because Elon, even though Elon and Tesla are not necessarily the same thing, but they're related. And even though if you add up like the 1.5 billion that Tesla have, it's a lot, but it's not really, it's only a portion of the Bitcoin market cap. So it shouldn't make, to be honest, I kind of nearly want them to just dump and get over it and stop all this kind of manipulation. So yeah, that's what I think. Quick question. Do you know what the current Bitcoin block reward is? If you do, type it into the comment section down below and I'll give you a gold star. In fairness, if you have invested in Bitcoin, you should know what the current Bitcoin block reward is. Now, I just want to take a few moments to talk about my dollar cost averaging experiment. I haven't spoken about this in a while, but every single episode I purchased 10 euro worth of Bitcoin just to show people how to dollar cost average, like a little experiment, and just to see if it's in profit or in loss. So I've been doing this for 31 episodes, so that's 31 episodes by 10 euro. Total invested is 310 euro. That Bitcoin that I purchased with that 310 euro is now worth 472 euro and 61 cent. That's a total profit of 52.45%. So if I did this with a total investment of 1,000, I'd now have 1,500 euro if I sold. If I did this with 10,000, I'd now have 15,000 euro if I sold. Now, even though the Bitcoin price is crashing, and despite that massive 53% crash and the Elon tweets and all of that, that's actually better because that 10 euro goes further. So when Bitcoin inevitably, there's no guarantee of course, but I believe it will come back good and hit new all-time highs, you're going to get a lot better profits, a lot better value for that. So you're getting a lot good value now with that 10 euro. Let's continue on with the episode. Okay, referring back to the title of this episode, Elon Musk versus Bitcoin. I'm going to give a very brief synopsis of Elon Musk, Tesla and Bitcoin, and then I'm going to give my take on what's going to happen, then I'm going to move on. So back in February 9th, Tesla announced that they bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. To my knowledge, they still have that. They've sold about 10% of it. That day, the Bitcoin price pumped by $6,000. Everyone thought Elon Musk was a hero, and it was pretty much the biggest news that Bitcoin ever had. It was the biggest adoption news, and I still think it is one of the most significant ones. Ever since, Elon has been tweeting about Doge and tweeting about Bitcoin and criticizing Bitcoin for the amount of energy that it uses, which is a completely different conversation. But most of the energy that Bitcoin used, the mining energy, about 73% of it is hydroelectric power or renewable sources, and a lot of it's done in China. So it doesn't really make sense why he's doing that. So that's a general timeline. Now, when they announced on February 9th, they'd actually previously bought Bitcoin in January for an average price about 32,000. And I'm not going to come straight out and go, we bought Bitcoin at 32,000, because then that's going to skyrocket the price and maybe they wanted to accumulate more. So that could be what's happening now. But ever since, Elon has been tweeting about Doge, tweeting about Bitcoin, kind of his tweets seem to be geared more support towards Dogecoin, which is completely ridiculous, and less towards Bitcoin. And it does seem like there's a bit of manipulation here. Every time he tweets, when he tweeted about his concerns over the energy consumption of Bitcoin, the price action experienced a 53% correction, which was probably one of the worst price corrections in Bitcoin's history. And it all seems a bit ridiculous because the fundamentals about Bitcoin haven't changed. It's still decentralized. It's still a fixed supply. Like the hash rate is still constantly getting all-time highs after all-time highs after all-time highs. You know, the halving is still built into the protocol. Like, so the actual fundamentals haven't changed. The product, if you want to call it that, hasn't changed. But it's just that perception. People care more about him and what he says because he is such a massive following on Twitter. He's such a massive, famous figure who's seen as intelligent and seen as a successful businessman, and he's the richest man in the world. So it kind of does. He does have that bit of an influence, which is unfortunate, but it does seem like a bit of manipulation because there's two things here. There's Elon, and then there's Tesla, and even though they're linked, Elon, I don't think to my knowledge, has ever come out and saying, I own a lot of Bitcoin. I would imagine he does own Bitcoin. And by him letting on or saying, don't buy it, a lot of people are going to panic sell because unfortunately a lot of people who have bought Bitcoin don't understand it. And that doesn't make sense to me because if I was buying a car, I'd look up that particular model of the car, I'd read the reviews, I'd, talk to people who maybe have owned that car before and, see the pros and the cons and see if it works for my budget and what I want before buying. So why wouldn't you do the same for Bitcoin? But unfortunately, a lot of people actually don't understand it who have invested in it. And when something like this happens, they think this is the end. Especially if you're new, if you got in the last 12 months, it can be very, very scary. Whereas if you remember back to 2017, there was the hard fork, the Bitcoin fork FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt. And there was the China FUD. So this stuff, there's not really a week in Bitcoin where there's not some sort of a ban or an unban. Even the China FUD a few weeks back, that wasn't new. That was just China coming out and saying the exact same thing they said in 2017. Even India, literally every month, 1 month India have a ban, the next month they don't. And what's interesting as well is that even though China, they have a ban on Bitcoin, whatever, they don't really have a ban on mining. They don't have a ban. The vast majority of Bitcoin mining is actually done in China. So it's more that they have a ban on them, like spending it as a currency. Okay. So that's pretty much Elon at the moment. I would suggest that people actually spend more time researching what Bitcoin is and make up your own decision instead of responding to Elon's tweets. That's all I'm going to talk about Elon. Okay, folks, that's the end of this episode. So I just want to take this opportunity to say a massive thank you to anyone who's watched the videos, liked the videos, or subscribed to the channel. You really helped me growing this channel. I started it over a year ago now. I'm on 316 subscribers, so the journey towards 500 subs is well and truly underway. So just a massive thank you, appreciation. Really enjoying making the channel and really enjoying just growing the channel as well. So if you got any sort of value from this channel or this particular episode, or if you've learned anything new, go ahead and like, go ahead and subscribe, and as usual, Sláinte. Bye 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 bye.